All right, part two, let's do this. I've got 12 minus 3x squared. We need to factor this. Rule of thumb, greatest common factor. Keep drilling that one through your mind. I've got that in this case. It's two terms. I have a factor of 3 that I can pull out of there, right? So that gives me 4 minus x squared. Now at this point, 4 minus x squared is a difference in squares. It looks a little weird because usually we're used to seeing the x squared being the positive guy. And we're going to look at that in a minute. But for right now, I can factor it as 3. Don't forget that 3 needs to be part of the answer here because that's part of the finished factoring. Times the quantity of 2 plus x and then 2 minus x. Okay? Now there is another way on this one. If you really don't want to see that minus x in there, and sometimes people don't, especially if you're solving quadratic equations, is if you do this. You can take your 12 minus 3x squared, factor out a negative 3 for starters. What that does is it gives you a negative 4 plus x squared, right? You can see that if you multiply back through. Negative 3 times negative 4 is a positive 12. Negative 3 times a positive x squared is a negative 3x squared. And then you can make this thing commute by swapping it around and going x squared minus 4. And then this looks a little more familiar, right? So then you can say, oh yeah, I get this. That's a negative 3 times the x plus 2 and the x minus 2. This is equivalent to this guy. The difference is I factored out the negative and I made this guy an x minus 2 and I put the negative out here with the 3. Okay? They're both equivalent statements. A lot of people, myself included, like this approach better because it gives you a leading coefficient on the x that's positive. Okay, so maybe keep that in mind, especially if you're taking math higher level beyond this, like college algebra, calculus, and that sort of thing. That'll pay off for you, okay? All right, y squared minus 1 over 25. Don't let that fraction push you around. It's a perfect square. So you can have y plus the square root of 1 over 25. Just square root the numerator. Square root of 1 is 1. Square root the denominator. Square root of 25 is 5. So the square root of 1/25 is 1/5. Okay? So we're looking at y plus 1/5 and y minus 1/5. Boom, done. Okay? And the last one. Keep forgetting about my rule. My factors in the palm of your hand. So very first thing, greatest common factor. I don't have that in this case. 2 digits. Do I have a trinomial? Yes, I do. So let's take a look at that factor. This guy's the difference of squares. The square root of x to the 4th is x squared. The square root of 81 is 9. So we're going to go with x squared plus 9 and x squared minus 9. Always factor completely. Okay? I'll be using my pinky rule on this one. This x squared minus 9, it's going to keep factoring. The x squared plus 9 will not keep factoring to come up with real factors. But this x squared minus 9 will. So x squared plus 9 times x plus 3 times x minus 3 is my finished factored form of this guy. People try to factor this x squared plus 9 a lot. Okay, and you can, but it's going to be complex factors, okay, which I'm going to talk about at a later time, in a later video. But the difference of squares you can do. So I had a colleague once tell me, good old Barry Roth, a guy who used to work with us, long since retired, had a really good way of remembering this. He's like, if you got 2 squares in a positive relationship, the relationship's fine. Don't break them up, okay? Keep dating, whatever. But if you get 2 squares in a negative relationship, dude, start getting that prenuptial agreement ready. Get ready for that divorce because it's not going to work out. So split them up. And my apologies if you're currently going through a marital issue. Sometimes that's a sensitive spot. I've had students start crying who have gone through that divorce thing. when they see that, and I felt kind of bad about that. So my apologies if you're one of those situations, okay?